Kael had always remembered the sound of the world falling apart, not through explosions or thunder, but through the quiet, hollow echo of people giving up. He had heard it first in his father's voice the night before he disappeared, a trembling whisper that crawled out of a man who once stood like an unbreakable wall. The Great Collapse had taken many things, homes, jobs, hope, but to Kael, its greatest theft was not the buildings that crumbled or the streets that fractured, it was the moment he realized the strongest person he had ever known could break too. Years later, the memory still burned like a shard of ice buried deep within him. Yet as dawn cracked over the jagged skyline of Aranthos, Kael moved with purpose, each step carrying the weight of every night he spent sewing together dreams that refused to die. His city was vast, metallic, and cruel, but it pulsed with opportunities hidden beneath layers of despair, and Kael had learned to read those layers the way others read maps. With a patched backpack and a heart heavy with determination, he descended the rusted stairs of his makeshift home, passing the workshop filled with abandoned machines, silent witnesses to the era before the collapse. He paused briefly, tracing his fingers across a fallen sign that still read, Joren's Repairs, his father's handwriting faded but not forgotten. He closed his eyes, inhaling the smell of old oil and metal, hearing phantom echoes of laughter, memories flickering like fragile lantern flames. Then he pushed the door open and stepped into the chaotic morning noise where people moved with mechanical urgency, pretending everything was normal. Kael wasn't like them. He didn't want normal. He wanted redemption. He wanted answers. He wanted to reshape the destiny that Aranthos had tried to force upon him. His journey began at the industrial district where rumors spread of a mysterious program called the Forge Initiative, a competitive training ground designed to rebuild the city's future by selecting only the most driven individuals. They said the trials were brutal, the standards unforgiving, and the failures forgotten, but the chosen ones gained access to resources powerful enough to change lives. Many believed the initiative was a myth, a spark of hope people told themselves to counter the darkness. But Kael had seen the symbol burned into a transmission disc hidden in his father's old toolbox, a sign that his father once knew something about it. That was enough. As Kael approached the towering facility rumored to house the initiative recruiters, doubt gnawed at him like a persistent shadow. Who was he to enter a place where only the best were allowed? What could a boy raised among dust and regrets offer a program built on ambition and brilliance? But then he remembered the nights he spent studying cracked manuals, repairing machines others had given up on, pushing himself until his fingers bled and his mind burned. He remembered the hunger to prove that he was not bound by circumstance. And most of all, he remembered the hollow sound of defeat in his father's voice, the sound he vowed never to echo. Inside the building, a colossal hall stretched before him, its metallic walls glowing with blue light. Hundreds of applicants gathered, each radiating confidence, athletes, engineers, prodigies, all superior in ways Kael feared he wasn't. Yet when he stepped inside, something unexpected happened. The murmuring crowd fell silent, turning toward the elevated platform where a woman in silver armor stood. Her presence was electrifying, like a storm forged into human form. "Welcome to the Forge Initiative," she declared, her voice slicing through the air with fierce clarity. "You stand here because you believe you are capable of more. You stand here because the world tried to break you, and you refused to stay broken." The words struck Kael like a lightning bolt. It felt as though she was speaking directly to him, peeling away every layer of insecurity and bearing the fire he tried so hard to hide. "Your trials begin today," she continued. "Not to prove your strength, but to uncover it." As the first trial was announced, Kael's pulse quickened. Candidates were to navigate an enormous shifting labyrinth of steel and light, designed to test clarity under pressure. The floor shifted like waves, walls rearranged themselves in unpredictable patterns, and failure meant being trapped until the challenge ended. Panic replaced confidence in the crowd, but Kael felt oddly calm. Machines had always spoken to him, movements, gears, rhythms, they were like music. When the horn blared, he dashed forward, dodging collapsing corridors, reading subtle vibrations beneath his feet, predicting shifts before they occurred. He moved with instinct sharpened by years of surviving chaos. Others shouted, stumbled, panicked, but Kael adapted. Each twist of the labyrinth felt like a conversation between him and the world, and for the first time since the collapse, he felt alive. He reached the core chamber far ahead of nearly everyone else. The armored woman raised an eyebrow as he emerged, breathless but unbroken. "Name?" she asked. "Kael Joren." Her eyes widened ever so slightly. "Joren, I knew your father." Kael's heart froze. "Where is he? What happened to him?" "That," she said, stepping closer, is a truth you may discover, if you survive the initiative. And with that, closes on Kael standing in the blazing light of the chamber, not knowing whether he's stepping toward glory or danger, only knowing that his journey has truly begun, and the answers he seeks lie deeper within the trials that await. And if you, viewer, are ready to continue this journey with Kael, if you're ready to uncover the secrets of his father and witness the rise of someone who refuses to stay broken, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because Chapter 2 will plunge even deeper into the fire that will shape his destiny. Kael barely slept after the first trial, not because of fear but because of the woman's words echoing in his mind like a drumbeat he could not silence. "I knew your father." Those 4 words twisted in his chest, stirring a storm of questions, hope, and dread. As dawn crept into the dormitory quarters assigned to the successful candidates, Kael stared at the ceiling, watching faint lines of light spread like cracks through the darkness. Around him, dozens of others slept uneasily, murmuring in their dreams or gripping their blankets as though bracing for impact. The Forge initiative wasn't merely a test of strength or intelligence, it was a crucible built to break the weak and forge the relentless. When the morning horn blared across the steel corridors, Kael sat up instantly, adrenaline flooding through him as if his body knew before his mind that today would be different. Today, he would step deeper into the heart of a mystery that had pulled him forward for years. As he walked toward the briefing hall, the corridors hummed with energy, holograms flickering to life, mechanical drones zipping overhead, trainers shouting commands at early risers running drills. Everything about the initiative was intense, precise, intimidating, but Kael moved with a calm flame inside him, a fire tempered by years of silent struggle. When he entered the hall, he saw the armored woman from before standing at the center of a circular platform. Her presence again commanded absolute silence. She introduced herself as Commander Saris Vale, a name that rippled through the room with a mix of fear and respect. "Yesterday," she said, pacing slowly, "you faced chaos. Today, you face yourself." A hush fell. "The second trial is called the Shadow Descent," she continued. "It is not a test of speed or strength. It is a test of will. A test of truth." Kael felt a chill crawl down his spine. Around him, candidates exchanged confused, anxious looks. "The Shadow Descent," Saris explained, "is a simulation that forces you into the deepest corridors of your own mind. Your fears, regrets, failures, everything you've buried will rise." She stopped and locked eyes with Kael for a moment, just long enough to unsettle him. Then she spoke again. "Survive not through force, but through acceptance. Fight, and you will be consumed. Surrender, and you will fall. Only clarity can guide you." They were led to individual pods, sleek, obsidian capsules with glowing runic patterns that pulsed like slow heartbeats. One by one, the candidates stepped inside, though many hesitated at the threshold as if sensing what awaited them. When Kael entered his pod, he felt weightlessly suspended in darkness. The hatch sealed, and a deep hum vibrated through his bones. A soft voice, synthetic yet strangely gentle, whispered, "Shadow Descent initializing." Then everything dissolved. Kael found himself standing in a ruined version of Aranthos, the sky cracked like shattered glass, buildings twisted as if melted by sorrow. The ground beneath him pulsed, alive with echoes of the past. He recognized these streets, he had walked them as a child with his father's hand wrapped around his tiny one. But now they were warped, drenched in shadows, a haunting reflection of the collapse. Suddenly he heard footsteps behind him, light, careful, familiar. When he turned, his breath caught. His father stood a few feet away, but not as Kael remembered him. This version looked worn, defeated, eyes hollow and dim. Kael's heart pounded. "Father," he whispered, stepping forward. But the man didn't answer. Instead, he repeated a single sentence, voice empty, "I couldn't save us, I couldn't save us." His figure flickered like a glitching memory. Kael reached out, but his hand passed through. More shadows emerged, people from Kael's past, each whispering doubts he had buried for years. His teachers saying he wasn't talented enough. Neighbors saying he would amount to nothing. Strangers saying the Joren family was cursed. Their words swirled into a storm that pressed against Kael's chest, suffocating him. He stumbled back, breath ragged, trying to block out the noise, but the shadows grew louder, closer, more distorted. He felt himself slipping, drowning in every insecurity he'd ever carried. But then, through the chaos, he remembered Saris's words, "Survive not through force, only clarity." Kael forced himself to slow his breathing. He opened his eyes, not to fight the shadows, but to face them. "You aren't real," he said, voice trembling but steady. Your pieces of fear, not truth. The shadows hissed, recoiling slightly. Kael stepped forward, grounding himself in the rhythm of his heartbeat. I'm still here. I haven't broken. I choose who I become. The illusions trembled, distortions rippling across them like waves. Kael walked through the storm of voices, and with each step, the shadows shattered into dust. But one figure remained, his father. Unlike the others, he did not crumble. Instead, he slowly lifted his head. His eyes flickered with something faint but genuine: sorrow, love, apology. Kael, the figure whispered, this time with warmth. Forgive me. Kael's throat tightened. I don't need forgiveness, he said quietly. I just need the truth. The illusion of his father placed a hand on Kael's shoulder, this time solid, warm, real. Seek Commander Saris, he whispered. She knows more than she tells. The truth lies in the final trial. As the last word faded, the world dissolved into white light. Kael gasped awake inside the pod, drenched in sweat. The hatch lifted, blinding hallway lights flooding in. Candidates all around him cried, screamed, or collapsed to their knees. Many had failed, unable to face their own minds. But Kael stood, shaken yet unbroken. Saris watched him, her expression unreadable. You saw him, didn't you? She murmured. Kael swallowed hard. You said you knew my father. Tell me how. Saris paused, a storm flickering behind her eyes. Before I answer, she said quietly, you must survive the final trial. Because the truth about your father is the reason the forge exists. Kael felt a surge of fire ignite inside his chest, fear, hope, determination merging into something unstoppable. His destiny was no longer just to survive the initiative, it was to unravel the lie that shaped his entire life. And as Kael stood among the survivors, a new resolve carved itself into his soul. Whatever the final trial demanded, he would face it. Whatever truth awaited, he would uncover it. Because the fire within him was no longer just for redemption, it was for transformation. And to the viewers watching Kael's journey unfold, if you want to witness the truth behind his father, the origins of the Forge Initiative, and the final battle that will reshape Kael's fate, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because the next chapter will ignite everything.